Hello, everyone, and welcome. What I'm about to share with all of you are in game screenshots of Transformers Impact, also known as Transformers Rise, which has currently been recently renamed to Transformers Reactivate officially. The in game screenshots are 100% public via a website that I can't share, as it's privacy for the people that worked on the game. Usernames, anything important that links to a public name back to people involved with the location of these screenshots will be heavily redacted. So I just thought I'd let you guys know. However, while all of the screenshots are based on when Certain Affinity and or Splash Damage were developing the game together, everyone must know that all footage, screenshots, and gameplay information are at least 2 to 4 years old. Then everything pretty much goes dark. This does not, and I repeat, does not detail any of the completed product that Splash Damage is currently working on with Bulkhead Studios. I urge everyone to make sure that this is known. Now, let's check out what it's like to log in and play Transformers Reactivate. I will be completely honest with you guys. I really am not much of a leaker myself. However, there are lots of things that are 100% public, as I mentioned before, such as the screenshots, the data information on like the game modes, the UI, all this other stuff is 100% public. Things that have recently been leaked have been public for quite a while, actually. Things that just weren't talked about for quite some time during this whole limbo period of not knowing, is the game canceled or is it canned kind of thing. And it's funny that we just did not research enough or find out about this information. And it sucks that we didn't earlier, because and that's the kind of thing that I kind of wish was a little bit more forward about things with certain studios. And I'm not blaming Splash Damage or Certain Affinity or anyone that was working on the game. However, there are some things that I just wish some studios would adapt to, and I think Splash Damage is actually going in that direction. If I make a point of a game studio like Ashes of Creation, for example, the Intrepid Studios is the official company. They have been working on a brand new MMO for a few years now. They actually were very popular with their Kickstarter for the game, and then they just absolutely blew up over time from different content creators, and of course them as a studio hiring people and getting to a point where they can actually create an absolutely beautiful MMO on Unreal Engine 5. Now, while Transformers Reactivate is not an MMO, or at least to some extent, of course, there's lots of RPG elements and MMO elements that are in this game. There are lots of things that I would love to see Splash Damage incorporate into their studio. Things like, or maybe some things that I haven't noticed, is like being more public about sharing more information every so often, for example. And this is what I think a lot of studios should start to do. And while maybe to some degree these things should obviously be kept private to some degree, and that's where I think Intrepid Studios should be a little bit more private in certain areas, some of it can be overwhelming, like too much information. Like, for example, this public information about the alpha testing and the in-game game modes, guilds, knowing about certain other things that we really shouldn't be knowing about before the game is officially launched. Like, who knows if some of these things or features have been scrapped within the game by Splash Damage. And that's some of the points that I'd like to make up now before we actually start to dive into all this information, is that you don't know what has been scrapped and what hasn't, or what has been kept and what has been continued. Now, for the most part, my theory is that the game has simply continued from when Certain Affinity last worked on it, or things have been revamped and changed in such a way that improves upon the original design. And that's mainly where I think a lot of this goes. But from what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is a lot of pre-alpha footage and what to expect when you first log in to Transformers Reactivate. Of course, all this information is very old, so just keep that in mind. But I would love to see a lot more studios open up about gameplay information, certain small timbits just hidden and sent to us here and there, little breadcrumbs or whatever of certain things that will be in the game, and slowly build up hype over time and really market it well among fans. And that's where I think a lot of us content creators are coming from when we present this information. And as I was saying before, I'm not much of a leaker. And until my actual insider contacted me personally themselves, I did not know what to expect to do with the information that was presented to me, whether it was to share it publicly or just to keep it to myself, kind of thing. And that's where I just did not know what to do with it at first. Whereas I thought, you know what? It's time for fans to actually know what to expect and what to hear about the game, kind of thing. And where I'm trying to go with this is that fans really should know more about the game, really, because 2017 to 2022, not much information up until the most recent announcement trailer. So we've been trying to dig for information over the internet, scour the internet, and eventually we came across this website that was 100% public to everyone for them to be able to access and check out this information and share all these screenshots. So it's crazy knowing that this information was public, but I really don't think it probably should have been public to begin with, actually. But it's public now, and a lot of Transformers fans are sharing their opinions on this game, or at least what it was back when Certain Affinity was working on the game. So, long story short, guys, let's continue on this video. But just a disclaimer though, a lot of this gameplay and screenshots are very old. This video will give a rough breakdown on what to expect when possibly starting up Transformers Reactivate for the very first time. As mentioned before, this is in pre-alpha demo gameplay, meaning it hasn't even hit alpha or beta stage in this part of development. When you launch the game, you will be met with a loading screen and splash screen. The game will ask you if you are a first-time user, which will then prompt you for an easy yes or no. If yes, an intro video will be played, possibly a CGI cinematic, which I assume will be showcased to us before the game officially launches. Another video will follow, sharing maybe a quick breakdown of the gameplay before you begin. If you hit no previously, then it will prompt you to log in with your existing account. Once logged in, you will be met with what is known as the route navigation, from which you can choose map, Transformers roster, and weapons. If you enter the world map, you can check on your quests, missions, join the matchmaking lobby, or hangar. One side note though is I do hope for a hub of sorts, which I'll talk about later, where people from around the world can hang out and show off their Transformers, party up with friends or randoms in the area, chat in a global chat, and more. That's the kind of vibes I get from hearing about a matchmaking lobby or hangar for the game. Let's hope that is something Splash Damage decides to keep in the game or even add to the game in the future. To me, the multiplayer experience is the most important thing for the longevity of a game and for players. I can't wait to see how creative players will get with the original characters we can activate. Moving forward, after players choose a mission to go on, you will be met with a loading screen. Each zone has its respective artwork for each zone. I'll admit, the artwork of New York is absolutely beautiful in its own way. Kind of reminds me of Post-Apocalypse The Last of Us Part 1 in atmosphere. It is just so creative, just being able to see certain knick-knack things, especially like this artwork, for example. I retouched it a bit. It was pretty dull for the game, for the debug version, or at least the pre-alpha version of the game, and I touched it up in Photoshop a little bit and got rid of some debug text a little bit and tried to touch it up as much as possible. So this is the image on screen that you guys will see for the very first loading screen for New York, at least. And it's really interesting seeing how beautiful and majestic it is, even being an apocalypse look to the game with all the trees growing up through skyscrapers and the ruins and all this other stuff about the game. It's just interesting seeing a transformer down on the ground, just looking up and seeing the ruins left of New York City. So it's crazy, and I can't wait to see more artwork for the loading screens as we start to jump into each zone. Next is the pause menu. This is where I will quickly teach you the controls via the PlayStation 5 controller, at least from my perspective. As you can see on screen, it is an Xbox controller. So I will quickly list off what the controls are on PlayStation 5. Hopefully this hasn't changed too much, and I don't think it will too much, but who knows, it may. Hello everyone, we are now here at my PlayStation 5, which is up to that direction over there on the stand. But guys, I wanted to quickly show you guys my button configuration interpretation for the PlayStation 5 controller. So guys, what we're going to do is quickly go through the entire controller, work from left to right on the controller, and go from there. So basically, let's start off with the left bumper. The left bumper here is your ability modifier. So when you click your left bumper, like I have right here, you will be able to swap between your different abilities, triangle, circle, and X for different abilities. And that could be even different for potentially the D-pad. I'm not sure if that's actually going to be a thing or not, but mainly swapping between your main button configuration over on this side. It's very similar to Final Fantasy XIV, where I hold down a trigger and I'm able to choose between triangle, circle, X, and square, and hold down for a specific ability. I may even show some gameplay of Final Fantasy XIV just to give you guys an idea of what this may be like. Now, I know the Transformers Reactivate probably won't have hotbars, but it would be really cool is if they slowly expand the game and maybe go that route. That'd be really cool to have like a hotbar experience to some degree with not Final Fantasy XIV, with Transformers Reactivate. So guys, just showing to you guys is you will hold down your left bumper, like I have here, and then you will go triangle, circle, X, and square for your different abilities. And that is pretty much that, actually. And then if you ever wanted to interact with an object, an in-game character like an NPC, like let's say Delvin, Allison, Marcus, or Andrea, anyone basically, any of the main NPCs that are in the game, you'll hold down your D-pad and press the D-pad up, or anything really. And I'm not sure what these other D-pads could be used for, but I do hope they get incorporated at some point in time for some other use, whether it be potions or various other things that other games do have that could be used for, like let's say a potion would be an energon deposit for more health, and you would press like D-pad down or something like that. And like, for example, Spider-Man on PS4/PS5 and the future kind of thing, like D-pad down would be like, oh, bam, energon deposit for Transformers Reactivate, more health, that sort of thing. Or maybe more ammo or something, or who knows what. But these 3 D-pads are kind of like irrelevant, and they don't have any use as of right now, according to the screenshot or pre-alpha. Now, D-pad up is to interact with any object, basically, like I said before. Now we're going to go to your movement, which is the L3 button. Now, L3 is basically to transform or move around, and that is pretty basic. Oh, my bad, guys. I have my PlayStation 5 off in the background. I'm sorry about that. If you guys heard my PlayStation 5 doing stuff in the background. But anyway, then we are going to move over to the camera button, which moves your camera around or your character. That could be a thing, or I think it's mainly to move your character around. But what would be cool is if you could press this down to do a melee attack. Now, that's not the current button configuration, but the heavy melee attack is actually your triangle ability on PlayStation 5 controller. Then you have your swap weapons on circle, and then on X you have your jump, and then square is your light melee attack. Now, I could see light melee attack being on square, But triangle, I would rather swap that with circle and square. Like circle and triangle, I mean, is triangle, I would rather have swap weapons like in Transformers Fall of Cybertron and Transformers War for Cybertron. I'm more geared toward the aspect of this game being more like Transformers War for Cybertron in terms of movability and combat. So I would love to see that high intense combat with Transformers Reactivate. Hopefully, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But heavy melee attack, light melee attack, jumping with your character, or swap weapons. Those are the abilities on this section right here for the PlayStation 5 controller. Then you have your dodge ability, which is on the, if I focus, is the right bumper. So the right bumper, when you hit that down, is your dodge. So you go left, right, something like that, and you will be able to dodge with your character very easily. Then your normal trigger ability, which is R1 on the PlayStation 5 controller, is basically your way of firing at the enemy. So whatever enemies are in game, or if they do have PvP, is you have your right trigger for shooting with your abilities, with your guns that you decide to put on your character. The last thing that I have, and I think I already talked about it, is basically your options. If not, is your options menu, which we are already in as of showing the in-game pause menu for the pre-alpha, is basically your pause menu right here. This button right here on the PlayStation 5 controller is simply to bring up your screenshots, to turn on your live stream strictly through the PS5, and of course that's the same for PlayStation 4 for bringing up your live stream or taking a screenshot, or with the share button in PlayStation 4. I don't know why they didn't just call it the share button at this with the PlayStation 5, but they called it, I think it's called like the sense or something like that. I can't remember what they called it. Long story short, guys, that is the PlayStation 5 control button configuration for the PlayStation 5. Hope you guys all enjoyed that quick cut, and I know this is a little bit of a longer video just to show you guys the button configuration. However, I just wanted to quickly go through those and show you guys the abilities for that. All right, let's move back to the video. Upon ending a mission, you'll receive rewards for completion. There will be a game loading screen where you can return back to the menus and see a breakdown of your mission completed. As we have seen from my previous video of the confirmed characters so far, you will slowly unlock characters to your roster as you would collect materials in-game on missions, and from, of course, dailies and weekly missions. Some of these weeklies allow you to build up to a point of having enough materials to activate a transformer. However, you as the player have a choice to restore specific parts to your characters. This will allow you to upgrade them, restore them, and unlock them. By doing so, it will upgrade your elemental stats, damage, HP overall for each individual character that you have unlocked for the gallery or roster. While looking into your character details, you can also restore and unlock weapons for that character. The same process also applies where you can upgrade that weapon and tiers that pertain to that particular weapon, all of which can be tied back to crafting and gathering materials so that the upgrade can happen. Now, after seeing all of this pre-alpha gameplay screenshots and footage, what do you think of the very beginning stages of development? The footage took place in late December 2018 to early 2019. One thing I find funny is the fact that through redacted documents, it was considered a quote-unquote closed beta test. In-house, of course, which lines up with the terminology used in the older 2020 Liu Technologies documents right before the handoff to Splash Damage. Now, while I would love to go into historical data over the last 4 years of financial documents and leading up to now, that would be one massive video to go over. Today is giving Transformers fans an insight overview of what Transformers Reactivate could possibly look like when you first start up the game. Before we end the video, I'm going to share some thoughts from me personally on what I think of all this information. despite it being a pre-alpha login screen, it was very simplistic. Just looking at it, I felt that, oh, you've got some 3 watermark icons for each of the logos for the companies kind of thing. I'm sure with Splash Damage and Bulkhead, you'll see the same, but with Hasbro's icon, not Certain Affinity, because they're no longer working on it, of course. But it's interesting that we see this very simplistic login screen, and while this is pre-alpha, I hope that in the future that we'll actually be able to see something a little bit more dynamic. In past Transformers games, we had the beautiful Transformers War for Cybertron login screen, or at least the main menu, and I absolutely loved seeing the world of Cybertron just spinning in the background with war and explosions of this 3D model in the background. I think that was probably the best Transformers main menu screen I have ever seen. Now, the second one leading up to that, I'd probably have to say is Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. I absolutely love Transformers Revenge of the Fallen's login screen. That was probably used to be my other previous number one until Transformers War for Cybertron came into play. So seeing those 2 login screens was pretty epic, and I loved how dynamic it was. Even if it wasn't a full sphere for Revenge of the Fallen, seeing Transformers War for Cybertron's full Cybertron sphere was pretty cool, I gotta admit. Now, while there's, I'm sure, many bugs with the PC version, or even maybe even the console version, I don't know if this happened with the console version, but I know for sure with the PC version, there was main menu glitches. Of course, that was a bad PC port, but at the same time, it's just very cool seeing how beautiful the main menus can get. And I hope for the future that Splash Damage decides to use a very unique and beautiful main menu screen, no matter what it is. And even if it's like using our character data from local files or something like that is saved on our side of things, I would love to be able to see an absolutely dynamic background main menu, and that would be really cool to log into or see something, or who knows, maybe using the current time of day based on your time zone or something like that. And I'm sure that's very simple to implement, but based on that, using that for the main menu to indicate where the sun is, where it's sun rising, if it's nighttime or something like that, that would be really cool to see for a main menu. And I would love to be able to log into a screen like that, or seeing a bot overlooking, like, say, like a sunrise or sunset or something of ruins of New York or whatever it is, or whatever zone that you that would be cool, is a previous zone that you have been in the storyline, it updates to that background. Now that'd be cool, just having something like that. But anyway, regardless, I would love to see a beautiful login screen, and that would be absolutely epic to see, besides the one that's in the pre-alpha. Now, another big thing on my wish list is a hangar or base, like either Destiny or Warframe. Now, with Destiny, they had kind of like a hub area, and who knows if I'll throw in footage to show as an example, I'm not sure, but I would love to be able to see a hangout area where, kind of like Transformers Universe by JJX. If anyone has seen footage of that, if you were choosing either Autobot or Decepticon, you had your own hangar or base of operations where you could just log into the game, you log into the hangar, and basically you're there in game and hanging out, whether it's with let's throw in some examples of whether it's with Delvin and the team, with not Marissa, but Andrea Fairborn and all the rest of the team that's there, Marcus, and all those characters. It would be cool just to be able to roam in this massive hangar where people from around the world are in this hangar, and that is a big, massive hub where you can chat, hang out with people, talk with other people, comment on their Transformer, what they've done to upgrade it, kind of thing, talk stats, crafting materials and stuff like that. Not just in a gameplay standpoint for like the story mode. It would be really cool to have a hub area where everyone can hang out, talk and chat about their Transformers and things that they love about the game, or maybe even the movie. A place where everyone, a hub place where they can hang out, not just outside of game, is part of the immersion aspect that I would love to see for a Transformers video game. And I hope that they do that with Transformers Reactivate. Now let's talk about the matchmaking lobby. Now, while I like this idea of a matchmaking lobby, it feels very Overwatch-like. I wish there was an ability to free roam with the players that you connect with while you're waiting, not just sit in a lobby while matchmaking. Another idea is to give players that option by being able to choose between just sitting in the matchmaking lobby, or you could actually go into the world that you previously played in, or maybe even just stay in the hub base area that I just talked about previously, where you could just hang out, and maybe in the top right hand corner of your screen you just have a little instance matchmaking notification in the top right hand corner of your screen. I know many other MMOs do this and it works really well, and you can still hang out, do whatever else you need to do in game, like checking out your stats for your character and stuff like that, and look at these various other things that could be easily accessible while you're waiting for the game. Now, I'm sure even if you were in a matchmaking lobby, you could probably access all these parts of the in-game features anyway, but it would be really cool to be able to just hang out and, I don't know, jump around, transform around, hang out in the hub, or drive out of the hangar and just drive out into the safe zone, per se, where the Autobot and Decepticon base is, of you just being with friends and other randoms that are Transformers fans in Transformers Reactivate. That would be really cool to me, or at least that's maybe a wish list thing that could probably be implemented in the future, and I'd love to be able to see that for the immersion aspect as well. Loading screens. I love this idea, and like I said before, it's important for the developers to use loading screens to hide gameplay elements starting up in the background, like bringing other players into the game or having heavy assets loading in while you're waiting. Having special artwork to indicate each zone is a must-have, and I think that's very important. Is like we saw with the New York loading screen, I think it would be really cool is for each zone or whatever mission you're loading up, that it shows a login screen. It's kind of like in an MMO where you're teleporting from one location to another, and each location has a loading screen for that zone. And it would be cool to see neat artwork from the team of them showcasing what the general aspect or idea was behind what they wanted this zone to look like. And it would be cool to see that for an in-game loading screen. I would love that. That would be really cool to me from an artwork perspective. Character unlocks and weapons. I absolutely love the idea of showcasing a character and weapon unlocks. However, I do feel like they should be standalone initially. Then the player can quickly look at their stats from the character page itself. Like, for example, when you first unlock a character, it would be really cool to see a very cool cinematic look to you unlocking that Transformer. They have their own little pose or something like that they do of, like, I don't know, Megatron shoving a cannon right in your face, or Optimus Prime with his axe or something like that, slicing down on the ground, or shoving his pistol in your face or something like that, or doing a really cool pose or something like that for the camera, for the viewer that's unlocking that character. That would be really neat to me. And then, of course, the animation ends and it's just idle. The character is just in idle animation, just idly standing there waiting for you to confirm that you just unlocked that character or something like that. That would be really cool to me. The other thing would be is, of course, the elemental stats. I don't think from the pre-alpha footage, I don't think that it should have been on the main unlocking the character page. I feel like you should be, as the player, initially going into the menus to look at the character you just unlocked and checking out their stats through that character, not seeing it through the announcement like, hey, you just unlocked this character, here's the stats on the right hand side. I think that should be separate, kind of thing. And those are just maybe some of my final thoughts, but to continue further, overall, I feel like Transformers Reactivate, even from the early stages of development, is looking very promising. Now, while I took a little bit more of a podcast take on how I did this script for myself, I just got to say, guys, that this game is ramping up to probably be the biggest new golden era for Transformers fans. I have to say now, while the footage is old, keep that in mind, keep it in mind. Don't immediately start to write it off just because you've seen early screenshots from the game when Certain Affinity worked on the game. From what I've been told from my insider is that it wasn't really all that great for development time with Certain Affinity way back when. Now, while that's not maybe initially 100% their fault, it was a very tough time back then. COVID was happening. Studios were having issues back then, all that jazz. Keep in mind that now Splash Damage has this game, and they're heavy into the multiplayer aspect of the game. Now, while everyone knows that I'm sure you can play the game without having to actually enter into multiplayer, because I'm sure they want to give fans both of those aspects of, hey, I can just easily play the single player aspect, and hey, I would love to play more with my friends and play through the game in a multiplayer aspect and experience the game alongside my friends. That is the kind of experience, like Transformers War for Cybertron co-op, that is the kind of stuff that we absolutely love. Now, one last thing, and I haven't really dived deep into the game modes just yet, but I will plan to do that in the future, is that for Transformers Reactivate, we do not know if there's PvP in the game. And that was a big aspect for Transformers War for Cybertron, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, Transformers Fall of Cybertron. Those three games were absolutely massive hits due to the fact that they had Transformers Team Deathmatch and stuff like that, and other various game modes that you would see in like all those other shooters in the games, right? It was big, and it still is today with the revival of the servers. But at the same time, those games are older, and we would love to see those game modes again. It's what kept the community going and inspired to continue playing these games, and they loved it. They loved playing as their Transformers characters. They loved being able to go in the game, and they loved being able to play in Transformers Fall of Cybertron, Transformers War for Cybertron, Revenge of the Fallen multiplayer, even if it was original characters, and just having a great time in the game and fighting against Autobots and Decepticons. And that's what I personally loved the most, is those multiplayer aspects. Once that was ripped from us, it was a shock to the heart, and so many fans felt it. It was huge. For me, it was a huge nostalgia factor of just reliving and watching older videos of mine and other videos from other content creators of those multiplayer experiences. So if we were ever to lose a multiplayer game, it's a huge shock to our heart. And that is one thing that I wanted to note big time with this video. So guys, the big thing that I'm trying to say to even Splash Damage, if they are listening, which I'm sure they are, as they have even told me that they've been watching my videos, is that it's really great that you guys are connecting with fans. But at the same time, I would love to hear you guys connect even more and ask questions. And while you may get mixed answers and stuff like that, I would love to hear you guys asking certain questions from the community and being public, whether you have forums and stuff like that set up in the future for other people to comment their thoughts and share their ideas of like, hey, this was a great aspect of the previous Transformers games, and I would love to see something like this implemented in Transformers Reactivate. Now, while not everything can be implemented into the game, I think it's really cool that being able to listen to your fans and being able to hear them out for certain aspects is a great source for development, a great inspiration to continue development and share unique things into your game that other fans would also come to know and love. I'm not sure if the previous game modes will be in the game from when Certain Affinity was working on the game, but who knows, right? We don't know, because once 2020 hits, pretty much all of our information is dark after this. While we share a lot of older information, it at least gives us some kind of insight as to what to expect for the game, even if maybe a lot of that could have been completely scrapped. So guys, long story short, all I have to say is that I am very excited for Transformers Reactivate. I cannot wait for that closed beta test. in 2023. Now, while I have told other people in the Discord, because I've heard of it from other Splash Damage employees, that there's not going to be any new information for the rest of 2022. And obviously, we're about to hit Christmas holidays. And as I'm sure you guys all know, when I upload this video, I'm probably going to be uploading it on Christmas Day for you guys. So for those of you guys, I just wanted to say a big and special happy holidays and Merry Christmas to each and every one of you guys. But of course, there won't be any new information until sometime into 2023. And I hope the next announcement is something that's more diving into the aspect of how can I get more involved with the closed beta test, or how can I get more involved from a press perspective of, is there going to be review copies of the game? That's something actually that I asked recently, is there going to be early review copies? I would love to enter into that aspect of things. And for any Splash Damage employees that are out there, I would actually love to be able to interview guys as well. And I'm not sure if that's something in the scope of things. And jumping away from any quote-unquote leaked information, I would love to be done with that stuff, actually, because I hate going into leaked information at all. But of course, like I said before, most of this stuff is public, and for the most part, I haven't really leaked anything. It was more public than anything else, than rather titles that say it was leaked. Besides that, guys, all I have to say is I would love to be able to interview some of the Splash Damage employees, and I would love to be able to take a step further in the relationship with Splash Damage, and of course, any future content creators that are out there that would love to be able to chat with me, maybe even do other podcast stuff together. I even suggested it to Luna a while back, but I wanted to potentially start up a podcast as well for Transformers Reactivate. And I'm not even sure what I would want to title it just yet, but there's lots of ideas that I have going forward in the future. I know I'm turning this more into a podcast video, but that's kind of the setup that I had as well, with going off of my thoughts throughout this video. So I just wanted to share some of those things with you guys and share the possibilities of going into 2023. I know I'm making this a little bit longer and maybe rambling, who knows, but I love talking about Transformers, and I love being able to talk with the fans throughout the community. Also, one last big special shout out I just wanted to say is that I wanted to say a big and special thank you to each and every one of you guys that are in the community for Transformers Reactivate. We just recently hit 10,000 members in our community Discord, making it one of the biggest Transformers community Discords that are in the world right now. I think it's I'm not sure 100% if it's the biggest Transformers gaming community Discord or not. I should probably look that up, but it's one of the biggest. I know it is. It's one of the biggest out there. So guys, if you guys want to join in and join the community, we would love to have you guys help other members and help them with the information that is already out there, kind of thing, especially for the upcoming game, Transformers Reactivate. We know for a fact that Splash Damage is going to be making their own official Discord, so I would love to be able to enter in on that. Who knows, maybe I can even become a moderator on that Discord. I don't know if they'll let other people become moderators throughout their Discord, but who knows? I know other game studios do that. But there's a lot of things that are coming in 2023. 2023, from what I've seen, is going to be a massive year in the gaming industry, and I am so excited to see what it holds going forward in 2023. All right, guys, before I start to talk way too much beyond this video, all I have to say again is thank you so much for watching, guys, up until this point. There's a lot of great information going forward, and I cannot wait to share it with you guys from more official sources from Splash Damage. I would love to stay on the more official side of things and share with you guys the news properly, and like I have been doing in the past up until this very point in time. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I cannot wait to go into 2023 alongside each and every one of the Transformers fans in Transformers Reactivate. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my end. This is RoboGamer1 HD, over and out. Have a safe holidays, everyone. See you next one.